Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into the world of decimals?
I'm ready. It's amazing how these little dots pop up everywhere, right?
They really do. We're on a mission today to uncover just how big of a difference decimals make. From measuring tiny creatures like this frog I read about, it's smaller than a pencil line, to navigating the price of, pretty much everything.
Sounds like a fascinating deep dive.
It is. Okay,
Okay.
so let's start with something familiar. Measurement. We all know, like centimeters, right? Right. Imagine you're like looking at a standard pencil.
Yeah, yeah. The source material actually starts with a pencil, a great visual. We can talk about its length in centimeters, but to get even more specific, we can turn to millimeters.
Oh, millimeters.
Yeah.
Those like tiny little lines between the centimeter markings on the ruler.
Exactly. And that's where our friend the decimal comes in.
Okay, I see.
Each centimeter is made up of 10 millimeters.
Right.
But instead of thinking of them as, separate units, decimals allow us to express those millimeters as fractions of a centimeter. Okay, so if a centimeter is like, say, a rupee, then a millimeter is like a paisa.
Precisely. Just like a digit's position in a number determines its value, like hundreds, tens, ones, the same goes for decimals. The numbers after the decimal point represent those smaller parts of a whole.
That makes sense. So when we talk about something being like 0.9 centimeters long, we're actually talking about 9 millimeters, which is almost a full centimeter.
Exactly. And that brings us to our miniature marvel, the gold frog. This little guy measures a mere 0.9 centimeters long.
Wow, that's tiny.
It is. Our source material says it's smaller than a housefly.
I can't even imagine something that small.
It's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Goliath of frogs, the bullfrog.
Oh, wow. How big are we talking?
30.5 centimeters.
That's bigger than my foot.
Right. It's incredible to think about.
That's a huge difference in size. Okay,
Yeah.
Picture this. A meter stick. You know the ones we all used in school? How many of those teeny tiny gold frogs do you think we could line up on it?
Ooh, that's a fun thought experiment. And it really highlights how decimals help us visualize and compare measurements, even on dramatically different scales.
Yeah, they do. Speaking of scales, let's move from the world of tiny frogs to something we encounter, well, pretty much every day. The market.
Oh, from frogs to groceries. You're right. Decimals are always there.
Who hasn't stood in the market trying to, do quick math in their head with rupees and pays?
Our source material actually highlighted some common market scenarios where, decimals make all the difference.
Oh, interesting.
Remember the matchbox problem?
Yeah.
It breaks down how, understanding the relationship between rupees and pays is crucial for, making sense of those price tags.
Right, and it all goes back to place value again, right?
Exactly.
Just like with the centimeters and millimeters.
Just as 10 millimeters makes up 1 centimeter, 100 pays makes up a rupee. That 100 is key because it means we're dealing with hundredths when we talk about pays as decimals.
Yeah. Okay.
So 50 pays is like half,
Hmm.
represented as 0.50.
Okay, that makes sense. But things get even trickier when you have a shopping list longer than your arm, like Cannon in the example.
Absolutely. Trying to figure out how many eggs he can buy with a certain amount of rupees and pays.
Yeah.
A real-life application of decimal operations. It highlights how decimals aren't just about representing parts of a whole, but are essential for calculations as well.
It's like a hidden math problem in every grocery trip.
Right.
And speaking of hidden things, what about that shopkeeper who forgot the decimal point?
Oh, that's a classic example of how a tiny dot can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Imagine thinking you're getting a great deal, only to realize later that the price was missing a decimal point.
Oh, no.
Instead of paying, say, $50.99 for a bag of flour, you might end up paying a whopping $159.9.
Wow, that's a sneaky way to increase profits. Makes you wonder how often that happens. It reminds me of, those psychological pricing tactics where they list something as, 32.99 rupees instead of 33?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They play on our perception, making us think we're getting a bargain when in reality it's, just 1 paisa less.
Right.
That's why understanding decimals is so empowering as a consumer.
Yeah.
You're not easily fooled by those little tricks.
Yeah.
The real value of what you're buying.
It's like having X-ray vision at the market.
Exactly.
You can see through those, deceptive pricing strategies.
And, just as we use decimals for precise measurements in length and money, we also rely on them for accuracy in another crucial area.
What's that?
Temperature.
Temperature. Yeah, from prices at the market to the the weather outside, it really does seem like decimals are everywhere.
They are. They're essential for, measuring and understanding the world around us, and temperature is a perfect example. Think about how we rely on, like, accurate temperature readings for everything from planning our outfits to, even tracking climate change.
Right, and our source material included some pretty fascinating temperature data from different cities in India.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they recorded the temperatures at 3 p.m. and 3 a.m., and some of those differences were, like, pretty dramatic.
Yeah, it's amazing how much temperatures can fluctuate even within, like, a single day in the same city.
Yeah.
Take, for example, Mumbai.
Okay.
At 3 p.m., it was a balmy 35.1 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wow, definitely shorts and iced tea weather.
Right. But then by 3 a.m., it had cooled down to 19 degrees.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a big difference. Makes you realize, those decimals really do matter when we're talking about comfort level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A few degrees can make all the difference between, like, a pleasant evening and needing to pull out a light sweater.
Yeah.
And when you compare different cities, like, the contrast is even more striking.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
So what other cities did we have?
Well, while Mumbai was enjoying that afternoon warmth,
Yeah.
Srinagar was a chilly 8.1 degrees Celsius at 3 p.m.
Wow. Okay, so that's like a difference of over 20 degrees.
Talk about a tale of two cities.
Right.
It highlights the incredible diversity of climates we see, within India, and how decimals allow us to quantify those differences precisely. Imagine trying to describe those temperature variations without decimals.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like painting a picture without any fine details.
Totally. And speaking of details, let's talk about those 3 a.m. readings. Srinagar takes the prize for the most dramatic drop,
Oh, really? How low did it go?
plummeting to a frigid 1.3 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's getting close to freezing. I'd be bundled up inside for sure.
Oh, me too. I can almost feel the chill just thinking about it. It's amazing how decimals can kind of like transport us like that, even if it's just in our mind.
It does.
One minute we're picturing ourselves in sunny Mumbai, the next we're like, reaching for our warmest sweaters in Srinagar.
And it all comes back to those decimals, right? They're not just these, abstract concepts. They represent real-world phenomena that impact our lives every day.
It's true. So to wrap up our decimal journey, we started with measuring tiny frogs, then navigated the world of prices at the market, and finally traveled across India through, temperature data, all thanks to the power of decimal.
It just goes to show that sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact.
They really can. And for you, our listener, we leave you with this thought. What are some other everyday places where understanding decimals is essential? Keep your eyes peeled, and you'll be amazed by how often these little dots, they really do shape our world.
They really do.
We hope this deep dive has given you a newfound appreciation for those little dots and the big difference they make.